Is the market going to continue its free fall? Or this is just a normal healthy correction to go back in reverse, go to all-time highs? As well, will Bitcoin continue plummeting, or is it a good chance to buy for you? Well, stay tuned and find out. Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Dan and as always I'm bringing you the best weekly analysis for crypto and stock market. As always, I'll be talking about my opinion and my views on the crypto market and also stock market futures, especially Nasdaq 100. So please stay tuned. We're gonna start with technical analysis for Nasdaq 100 as always, and let's move on to the chart to get it going. So Nasdaq 100, guys. By the way, if you haven't watched my previous videos, please make sure to go back and listen to them to know my thoughts and to know my process of thinking, because this is just an addition to the previous video. Okay, so Nasdaq 100, as we can see, finally we are breaking down, and I called it a couple of weeks back. I said that we're going to have this pullback, and we finally had it. Now, what now? What are we going to do now? We came on a weekly chart. As you can see, we finally broke the RSI that was very high. It was around 78. We came down and cooled it down to about 56. Now we are at EMA 20 on the weekly chart for Nasdaq 100. Now this is the first area of support, and as you can see right over here, we kind of closed near to it and then bounced back. However, I'm gonna show you exactly when I zoom in what happened there. So let me just show you the drawings and let me just zoom in on 4-hour chart. So we're gonna do a 4-hour chart because on the 4-hour chart you can see it real nicely. What happened here? All right, I marked over here the AI hype start date. So basically on the 15th of May was when the Nvidia and these guys had their earnings reports and the AI hype started. So this is the date that I marked, and this level is very important and I'll tell you why. Okay, now we continued climbing all the way up. We broke this weekly key market level right over here, and now we're going back down. So what am I looking at? I was looking at this gap right over here. Let me show you. So I was looking at this gap right over here to be filled, all right, on Nasdaq 100. That was my first target for my short positions, and then I took some profit off of the table. I still have 2 positions in game. At the moment, I took my profit at the gap, CME futures gap. Okay, now what happened? We finally came to the gap opening, all right? We touched it, and as you can see right over here, we bounced back off of it. All right, on the weekly chart that happened to be as well EMA 20. So this area I kind of knew we were going to reverse just a little bit, and I had a small long position right over here, but I actually exited it earlier. Didn't let it touch my take profit because the price action was just terrible on Friday. Anyways, so what now? What are we going to do now? What I want to do is, because we did not close the gap, you see this red line, sorry, it says gap close. So we did not close the gap. We did not come all the way to 14,500. We just touched the gap at gap opening, which is at 14,600. All right, since we didn't close the gap, what would be my thought process for the next week? What I would like to see? Well, at the moment I would like to see something like this. Go back to this range just to retest it and then continue and close the gap. Okay, this kind of movement would perfectly align with the Nvidia earnings report, which is on the 23rd of August next week. They're reporting after market close. So if Nvidia flops, if Nvidia earnings reports are not as good as they should be, we are going to see this kind of price action. So I believe that we are definitely going to reverse a little bit here, come back, retest this area, maybe range a bit. If Nvidia is a flop and if it doesn't have good earnings reports, we're going to see something like this. So retest of this order block right over here. The one in red is the order block that it's kind of risky for me. I just changed the different colors. The blue one is kind of safe to trade for me, and the red one is not really safe to trade. It's kind of a risky one. So I would actually wait for it to come and reverse to all the way to this area, and then finally maybe possibly break down to the downside. However, there's always two sides of the coins, right? If the Nvidia and earnings reports are quite good, then we might do something like this, and then boom, propel us all the way back to, I don't know, probably not this high, definitely not this high, but let's say we might easily end up week aiming, let's say, this previous high the most, so 15,300. So we could do something like this if the AI hype continues. So if we reverse from this very important level, all right, right over here, if we never fill up the gap, so if we just reverse from this area right over here, we can easily continue going back up with the correct environment, which is good earnings reports from Nvidia. Okay, this is for Nasdaq 100. However, as I've said, just as a reminder, if we flop, we're going down to the downside. So what is the plan? The main point, what is the plan for you? The trading plan is let it play out, let it go to this zone, and then wait for news from this zone. Don't trade it. I wouldn't trade anything from here. This is just in the middle of the nowhere. I would let it go back to this blue zone, which is between 14,964 to 14,840, so basically 100 points range. I would let it go back to this range and then look for clues and look for news. Anyways, I'm gonna talk about later. There's many other news that are happening next week, so you should be looking at those as well. There's Fed Chair Powell, Jackson Hole Symposium. Anyways, we're going to talk about it later. But look for clues, and only after those you can trade it in any of the direction which the market tells you. So if the market tells you that we are reversing and continuing the bull market, you go with the flow, long it and continue with the long until the market tells you otherwise. However, if we break down to the downside, now I want to tell you this. If we break to the downside, let's say Nvidia flops and Nvidia closes over here, then the next week we continue the bad momentum and close all the way to this area, which is kind of my final target for this correction. My final target for this correction would be 14,250 on the CME futures. However, if the news continue to be bad, and if the environment continues to be bad, and the Fed is bearish and the banks are selling and everything is, you know, bad, we can finally continue going all the way down and close to our final correction target, which would be at around 13,400. This would be the most healthiest pullback that I would like to see. The way the AI hype started, and from the momentum that it started right over here, I would like to see it end right there. Okay, this is what I would like to see. So in my personal view, this is not a good time to start bull market. We are not prepared for the healthy bull market as of now. So I would really like to see the correction all the way down to 13,400. Is it going to happen? I have no idea. I'm just going to follow the trend the same way you will be doing. So, and I will be playing it in any direction where the market tells me that it wants to go. But this is just a thought for process. So, you know, AI hype started right over here from this level. We might even end it there if the Nvidia results are quite bad. Now, let's move on to Bitcoin. What's happening to Bitcoin? Guys, I flopped on this one. I failed you. I told you that we're gonna see 40K before we see 25K. I was wrong. Sorry, guys. As always, still until now, crypto gets no break of good news. Crypto doesn't get any break of good news. So we had Evergrande collapse, which I'm gonna talk about it later and how it affected, but okay, let's just look at it from the technical point of view. I told you that the possibility is to do something like this, blast, right? But we broke all the way. Let me just zoom in on a daily chart. But we actually created this descending triangle and then just broke to the downside on the very first bad news. The good news still is, as I told you, this is the last line of defense, 25K. 25K held as of now. So until 25K holds, we are still good to go. We still have a chance to go propel back to 40,000 if we break 25K. Unfortunately, I will admit the defeat. If we cannot manage to hold the 25K, then I will say that definitely we're gonna go somewhere in the 20s range, maybe even below 20, but I don't know what kind of bad news we need to get in order to go there. So we need to see some we need to see some big dump by the whales in order to go to 20,000 area. So yeah, at the moment, crypto, as I said, this is a good time to accumulate still, honestly, for a smaller short trade. This is a still good time to accumulate, and the stop loss would be somewhere at around 24,500 or something like that. Let's say if there's some kind of liquidity grab like this one over here, it is still okay to buy. However, I would give it some time and wait and let it consolidate right over here, maybe make some liquidity grab and then buy on the way up. And if it happens to be together with some good news, good. If not, and if the stock market continues crashing, because they're correlated still, remember, if the stock market goes to 13,200 that I told you, sorry, 13,600 that I told you for Nasdaq. So if Nasdaq reaches this and closes this AI hype, I really believe then Bitcoin will close 20K gap and Bitcoin will go lower. So again, just to sum it up, is it a good time to accumulate? Always. I would buy from this area over here. Actually, I am buying from this area over here. I have a small futures position. Let's see how it's gonna play out. I'm not a psychic. I'm just guessing off of the key market levels that we could actually potentially jump back off of this area, and as long as we hold it, we are good. Now let's move on to economic calendar. Okay, Monday, nothing much happening, so Monday we can expect probably a pullback or a pump to the upside, just like a, closing the gap scenario. Tuesday we have existing home sales, then we have some FOMC members speak. Wednesday we have building permits, then we have new home sales, S&P Global Services PMI, crude oil, etc. So basically this is housing oriented week. We have a lot of housing reports. Thursday we have Jackson Hole Symposium. Jackson Hole Symposium, it tells you right over here, let's read it. Economic symposium held in Jackson Hole, Wyoming is attended by central bankers, finance ministers, academic and financial market participants from around the world. So there's going to be Fed speaking as well at the Jackson Hole. We're going to see Powell speaking. A lot of clues will be heard here on how the economy is doing, how the global economy is doing, and how specifically US economy is doing. So pay attention to that. Of course, as always, initial jobless claims. Then we have core durable goods orders. Pay attention to that. And on Friday, as I already told you, again, Jackson Hole and Fed Chair Powell for the end of the week. He's going to give us some hints and opinions on the current situation. Now, let's move on to earnings calendar. Monday, Zoo, Nordson, Fabrinet, blah, blah, blah. Half of these I don't even know. Tuesday, BHP Group, Lowe's, Medtronic, Baidu. Wednesday, the most important day for Nasdaq at least. This is what I was waiting for. Disclosure, I have a short position on Nvidia, okay? And I really hope, for my own sake, that it will flop. And they have no room to fail, okay? They had such a strong guidance and they rose so hard to the upside that if this earnings report is not going to be good, it's going to be catastrophic. What does that mean? That means that they gave us such huge promises that if they just slightly give worse than expected earnings reports, they're gonna flop 15-20% to the downside. And on the other side, if they actually beat the expectation and post even better guidance, they're gonna explode, and most probably we're gonna see AI hype 2.0 and we're gonna resume the bull market once again. So I wouldn't want to see that, but it might happen. So let's see. Nvidia, the moment of truth. Now, Thursday, Intuit Royal Canada, nothing much, and Friday, nothing much. Now, let's move on to some news. Is Michael Burry right about the US stock market again? So what this crazy guy did, again, he shorted the market. Everybody knows that he decided to take $1 billion bearish bet. So he shorted, as shown on his latest 13 filings. So he shorted the entire economy by with $1 billion worth of puts options. For those of you who don't know, basically he shorted it, he bet it against the economy. He said that it's gonna go down, right? In simple terms. So Michael, but again, I need to read this part. But despite gaining fame and his assessment of 2008, he is also known for firing blanks, which is actually true. He frequently retracts his inaccurate forecast, blah, blah, blah. So, true. He takes this huge bet and then files it into the 13th filing. The market goes crazy. Oh, Michael Burry again, he's betting against the US economy. And then he just closes the positions, early. Takes a maybe small loss or whatever, or just break even, it doesn't matter. But he's known for firing blanks, all right? But this is one of the indicators. Basically, why I read this news is that this is one of the indicators that maybe something bigger is cooking, because people like him are way smarter than us. Because if he managed to make billions, right? So, and he's definitely smarter than me. Now, reckless government spending only enough to delay inevitable recession. Since the beginning of 2022, the media has regularly warned a recession is coming. As we suggested previously, if a recession did occur, it would be the most well forecasted recession ever on record. While the probabilities of recession seem far more significant, what bothers us with the hard landing view is that everyone thinks the same. As Bob Farrell once said, when all experts agree, something else tends to happen, which I actually agree with. I do agree with this statement. This recession has been forecasted for so many times, okay? And everybody's talking about it. Everybody knows about it. Even the guys who came to the market for the first time, they are saying recession is imminent, we're la la la. Is it really going to happen? I have no idea at the moment, because as Bob Farrell once said, when all experts agree, something else tends to happen. So we will see this and find out very, very soon. By the end of the year, I believe that we're going to find out if we end up in a recession, and if it's quite bad. 2024 bull market cancelled. I am telling you, because if they hold the interest rates very high and the recession happens and then they don't pivot on time, 2024, I don't think we're gonna see the bull market, maybe other half of 2024. Anyways, let's move on to Evergrande crypto crash. Chinese giants' impact on digital market. Crypto news. Now, as we saw this crash, right, over here on Bitcoin, why did it happen? Well, a couple of reasons. First, Evergrande, the Chinese second biggest real estate developer, has filed for bankruptcy for probably 17th time or something. I don't know, from 2020, 2021, I don't even remember when they started posting all these news, how they're gonna file for bankruptcy, how they're done for the last 2-3 years. Anyways, but what you need to understand, you crypto guys, why is Bitcoin falling? You're probably asking yourself, so what does it have to do with Bitcoin? It has to do with Bitcoin. Let me scroll down. Why does it have to do with Bitcoin? Now, it has to do with Tether, the biggest stablecoin. Tether's exposure to Chinese debt. So one of the most prominent stablecoins in the crypto market has been caught in the shadow of the Evergrande crisis. The complexity of Tether's asset backing and the potential exposure to the Chinese financial system make it a focal point of interest and concern. Basically, they said that they admitted that they do have not only US commercial paper, but they also invested in some Chinese and overbroad commercial paper, Tether, for their backings. So basically what that means is probably they don't have a lot, but they are still exposed to Chinese market as being the biggest world's economy. They wanted to be diversified, and they wanted to be, diversifying their backings. So they didn't want to buy only US Treasury, so they bought some commercial paper from China, etc., and other countries. Probably there's India, I don't even know. I'm just guessing. So here is the whole scheme if you want to have a look at it. Now, another thing why it fall is, at a Bitcoin conference, Musk announced that SpaceX owned Bitcoin, and today it was uncovered that SpaceX sold $373 million Bitcoin. So is this true? This hasn't been confirmed by Elon Musk, I believe. So I'm not really sure if this is true. So these two things in combine, because how Matrix works, guys, just think of it. Be logical. Don't be stupid. Don't be sheep. How Matrix works coordinated. So when they attack coordinated. It couldn't be only Evergrande collapse. It needs to be something else. Evergrande collapse, SpaceX sold Bitcoin. Boom, oh, panic, boom. Who's now doing this, rubbing their palms? Of course, it is BlackRock. They can't wait. They can't wait to buy cheap Bitcoin somewhere around 20K or less. They just can't wait it, you know. For them, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, they can create these opportunities whenever they want, and they can buy it 20k, 26, 30, 40k. For them, it doesn't matter, but still it's good. The lower the better. So they are now waiting, and trust me, they will be accumulating. Okay, now let's move on to XRP ruling needs appeals court review, SEC says. SEC woke up and they asked for permission on Friday to appeal a federal judge's ruling that XRP sales through exchanges didn't violate blah blah blah. So now again, Matrix works coordinated, guys. Everything has to come at once. All of a sudden they didn't want to appeal it, the court's decision, and now all of a sudden they are asking for court to appeal the decision and to review it one more time. So again, what's gonna happen with it, I don't know. I'm guessing once the SEC case is done completely, once they kill it, XRP is going back to $1 or something like that, probably higher. And then when we continue the bull run, it's probably gonna run wild. Now, just to sum it up, guys. So the next week in the market is going to be probably not so volatile, or maybe volatile when it comes to Nasdaq because of the Nvidia earnings reports. Be safe. I wouldn't short it at the moment. I would not recommend shorting now. If you're not in the short position already, I wouldn't short it. If Nvidia posts very bad results, and if Jackson Hole Symposium, Fed and everybody confirms their bearish stance, and if you see the market is breaking down to the downside, we fill up and close all the gaps, yes, you can enter a short position then. But until then, wait it out. Let it just breathe, take a new fresh liquidity just to continue momentum to the downside or to continue going to the upside. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.